Merlin Sports.
Hey everybody, this is Fenomena from Merlin Sports, along with my partner in crime, DDawg. DDawg, how's it going?
Hey man, what's going on? I'm good. It's, it's been a great week, so
Yeah, and we're on the cusp of Wild Card Weekend for NFL playoffs, and we have some great games looking forward to. So, in this episode, we're going to break down the matchups this week and give you our picks along with previewing the matchup. So, without further ado, we're just going to run them through in the order that they're going to appear. So, the first game is Saturday at 4:30, and we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Houston Texans. So, D-Dog, who are you feeling in this game? Well, how does this matchup look to you?
it's a very interesting matchup. The Browns I think, are a really good team. Their defense, is phenomenal. They've had some tough injuries on the offensive side of the ball with their quarterbacks and stuff like that, but defensively, they're a very, very stout defensive team, and I like them in this game. I know that their record away is a little bit suspect, but that's part of it too. And Joe Flacco has found a new life, so I'm liking that. Houston does pose a pretty big matchup. C.J. Stroud's the offensive rookie of the year, so he's been great. Surprised me a lot as a rookie. I mean, I knew he'd be good, but I didn't think he'd be this good. And he's got a nice favorite target in Nico Collins, and so they're going to be a tough matchup. But I think Cleveland, they're a team that gets pressure on the quarterback, and I think they will be able to pressure Stroud and make him uncomfortable. Your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Well, I like Cleveland as well. They're an elite defense, and I think in playoffs, defenses travel well. So with that elite defense, they will put a lot of pressure on Stroud, and Joe Flacco has found a good situation. And you have a good offensive line, good running game, pretty decent receivers. It's a good situation that Flacco finds himself in, and of course, because he's a veteran, he can navigate a lot of the pressures and pitfalls. It just goes to show you that he's in the right situation, because last time he played, when he was with the Jets, I mean, no offensive line and limited weapons, and it's about being in the right situation at the right time. Cleveland did beat Houston earlier this season. C.J. Stroud missed that game to a concussion, but of course, Cleveland has been short pretty much all year, with losing star running back Nick Chubb earlier in the season, losing Deshaun Watson. So they've kind of been shorthanded all year, and they've just kept it going. So I expect a close game because, Houston. If you look all season, I mean, they haven't been blown out. They've been competitive in all their games, and they're going to be a feisty opponent. But I think Cleveland will just outlast them. I expect a close, hard-fought game, but I think Cleveland will come out on top.
I'm going to agree with there. I totally agree with you. And the spread's 2, so it's a very tight game as it is.
That's almost a pick 'em at this point.
Yeah. No, I agree. I concur with everything you said. Defense travels. Defense wins championships, as they always say. But Houston, they snuck up this year and surprised people. I think if we look back, we weren't picking Houston to do anything, and C.J. Stroud had a great year, but
not at all. And actually, this is a matchup of Coach of the Year candidates as well, with DeMeco Ryan doing. He's probably the odds-on favorite to win it. I mean, they were atrocious last year, and the turnaround. And Kevin Stefanski, with the job that he's done with Cleveland, with the injuries they faced, these are two premier coaches. So it's an interesting matchup. The other Saturday night matchup this is one of the most interesting matchups of the wild card weekend for me. Miami Dolphins travel to Kansas City to face the Chiefs, and they're both identical 11-6 records. This is at 8 p.m. on Saturday at Arrowhead. So, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I mean, Kansas City's always tough at home. Miami is a strange football team. You saw them a couple weeks ago. They just annihilated Dallas. They held Dallas down, but when they go on the road, they're not as good, and they haven't beaten a winning team on the road. I think Dallas was their major win at home in terms of beating a team that's a playoff bound team. It'll be interesting. I don't know. Jalen Waddle was out last week. If he's going to play or not, I didn't check the injury report for that. But I like Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes has done it. He knows how to do it. And this time of the game, this is the time of the year where where your stars come out. So I'll take Kansas City. I think it's going to be a close game, like maybe a little bit more high scoring than the Cleveland Houston game. I think this is a game that's going to probably be looking at 31-28, maybe 35-31. I don't think this is going to be a low-scoring game, although Kansas City's defense has been really good this year, and Miami's been devastated by injuries in their defense. So maybe that surprises, but I like Kansas City because I just trust Patrick Mahomes much more than I trust Tua right now.
Mm-hmm. No, you bring up some strong points. I think I'm going against the grain this week with this one, and I like Miami in this matchup. And reasons why I like Miami are, okay, the game is in Kansas City, but I think if Miami is at full health on offense, then that means Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and also their running game, which if they have both those running backs this week, Mostert and HN, I mean, those are that's a powerful combination at running back. And I think they just have the weapons to outscore Kansas City. Kansas City's kind of been one-dimensional, meaning that it's just been Mahomes and Kelsey. And we've seen in games where teams have keyed on Kelsey, been able to shut him down. The other receivers have just not been reliable. A lot of drop balls this season for Kansas City's receiving core. So I think if they're able to jam Kelsey, they might stifle Kansas City's offense. And with the stars that Miami has on offense, I think they could hang with them, and I see them being able to outscore it. You also got to keep in mind this Tyreek Hill's first game back to Kansas City. These two teams met in the regular season, but that game was in Germany, if you recall.
Yeah,
and Kansas City beat them 21-14. So that was basically a one touchdown game. And I know there could be a weather factor in Arrowhead. It's probably going to be cold and potential for snow. But I look back to last year, a late December game where Miami had Buffalo on the ropes, and it was a blizzard in Buffalo. And same thing was like, oh, Miami's gonna get blown out this game because of the weather. And they came within an air of beating Buffalo. So I think they can play in cold weather. And I'm looking for an upset here. I like the Dolphins to take it. I just don't think Kansas City's as dynamic as they've been. This is the least dynamic Kansas City offense we've seen in Mahomes' career as a starter.
I'll agree there. I think he struggled to find what consistent, reliable weapons besides Kelsey. I was going to mention, I also was going to mention that Tyreek Hill is coming home to play the first time he's played in Arrowhead since he was traded. Like I said, it's gonna be a tight game. I don't see anybody blowing it out, making it a one-sided game. I favor Kansas City just because I think Mahomes is who he is. Right, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And Miami's defense his defense is pretty banged up. They've lost a couple guys for the year, and it's going to be interesting to see who they throw out there. But yes, it's possible to stifle Kansas City's offense. And if Miami can do that, they have a chance of winning this game, obviously. Right about it.
Mm-hmm. I'm very interested to see that matchup. That game will be fun.
Yep.
Our next game takes us to Sunday, and this is the 1 o'clock game, and we have Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Pittsburgh finished at 10-7, and the Bills actually snuck up and won the division at 11-6. So, who do you like in this game, and what does this matchup look like to you?
Well, it's an interesting matchup because the Bills are coming on. They were idling at 6-6, and then they won the last 5. So the Bills have been playing really well, even with some of their question marks. Their defense has been strong. But I'm going to go with the upset, man. I'm going to pick Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh beat them earlier this season. Pittsburgh is going to get pressure. I mean, I know they're going to be without J.J. Watt, but sorry, T.J. Watt, not J.J. Watt. T.J. Watt. So that's going to hurt them a little bit. But Pittsburgh's also been coming on strong in the last few weeks. I don't know if it was Santa Claus and Mason Rudolph, got the Christmas present and started to play better and made this offense a little bit better. And so they're going to be able to score points that show they can score some points. And Josh Allen is prone to turnovers, and Pittsburgh feeds off turnovers. So that it's going to be for Buffalo to win this game. It's going to be key is if Josh Allen can not turn the ball over. He's not. He can't make mistakes, and he can't be forced into throwing those interceptions that he is liable to. If he can play mistake-free football, it's going to be difficult for Pittsburgh to win. But he hasn't shown his ability to play mistake-free football consistently. And I think Pittsburgh can create a couple turnovers and win this game. It's going to be a physical battle. The other thing about playing Pittsburgh, like playing Baltimore, they are a physical football team. They like to hit people, and they want you to feel that they hit you. So I'm picking Pittsburgh in a slight upset, obviously, and I think it's going to be a close game. Like probably 3 points is really how I see the game going. And I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I do not think it's going to be like a 34, 31, or even 35 or 38-35. I think this is going to be, you're probably getting 17-10, maybe 17-13, 20-17 on the high end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because weather could play a factor in Buffalo, as it usually does this time of year. But I agree with some of your points there in that, despite Buffalo winning 5 in a row to close out the season and capture the division title, if you actually look at some of those victories, I mean, even last week against Miami, they turned the ball over like crazy. They were very fortunate to come out on top. I mean, they beat the Patriots in there. They weren't that overly impressive against the Patriots. They more or less just got the job done. Although our offense has improved since they changed their offensive coordinator in Week 11. I think the Steelers, I've went against the Steelers the last 3 weeks and I've gotten burned because I kept expecting them to regress back to how they played in the middle of the season when they couldn't really score. And I think they really, after Coach Tomlin called them out and lit a fire under them, questioned their football will. I mean, they've come out strong. And I think their running game has caught fire. Like Najee Harris, looking like a top back. And I think that's the game Pittsburgh's going to play is like they're going to try to ground and pound, going to try to do ball control, keep the game close, grind it out. I think the reason why Mason Rudolph having a bit of success is because he's got experience. He subbed in when Roethlisberger went through some injury woes. So he knows the system. It's not like you're putting a pure rookie or a pure backup in there. This guy has experience at running Pittsburgh's offense. So that's why I think he hasn't looked out of place. Having said all that, I like Buffalo to win this game, and I think the X factor for me is that the Steelers are going to be without T.J. Watt, and he is such a star, like a one-man wrecking crew pressuring the quarterback. Without his presence on defense, I think that just gives the Bills the Bills the edge for me because I like how bad Josh Allen played last week, turning the ball over. I don't think he's going to play like that 2 games in a row, and I think that they will edge out Pittsburgh in this game because they do have Stephon Diggs. They got pretty good tight ends. Their running game also has been pretty impressive with their rookie running back. So like I look for them to have the edge here, and they're at home as well. So, but a close game because Tomlin's going to coach this game close.
Yeah, no, I concur. This could be a close game. I don't see like I don't see like you get those games. The spread's 10 points. I don't see that as a 10-point game.
No, I think that's a pretty large spread. Well, let's move on to the next game, which is the Sunday afternoon game, and the Green Bay Packers visit Dallas Cowboys and visit Dallas to play the Cowboys, America's team. So we have Packers, which finished at 9-8, and the Cowboys, which finished at 12-5, and captured the NFC East over the Eagles this season. So how are you looking at this game, and then who do you like coming out of this game?
I like Dallas coming out of this game. I mean, the one thing I say about Dallas, I mean, although the last game they had at home was a bit of a controversial game, if I'm not mistaken. But this game features a couple of interesting things, right? You got Mike McCarthy playing against his old team. Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat, as far as I'm hearing, which is surprising for a guy who just won the division at 12-5. But Dallas has not done anything in the playoffs, and until they do something, and last year they went into Tampa and blew out Tom Brady, right? So it's not like they haven't won in the playoffs. They blew out Tom Brady in Tampa last year. Granted, that was a shell of the Tampa Bay Super Bowl winning team and stuff like that. But they did blow out Tom Brady, and they did, and so they've shown that they can win. This is a game that, like I said, with McCarthy on the hot seat, I think Dak always plays better at home. Surprisingly, the Dallas defense plays better at home. Like Dallas defense is one of the weirdest defenses in the NFL because they can play really well, but on the road they struggle. Now they're susceptible to the run, so it could be something. But I like Dallas. I like Dak's gonna have a big game. I expect him to have a big game. And I say Mike McCarthy, he wants to rub this in. I like Dallas by about 17 points.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. Like Dallas being a very strong home team. In fact, they've won their last 16 consecutive home games. Their last loss at home was the 2022 season opener. So they're strong at home. It's been like night and day. On the road has been a different story. For some reason, they just can't. That game just hasn't been able to travel well. But at home, they've been strong. And despite that game against Detroit, where I think some poor officiating cost Detroit that game in the end, but we'll put that aside for now. The other factor why I like Dallas in this game is Green Bay's been a good story this year. Jordan Love, to see Jordan Love progress into a viable starting quarterback has been one of the good NFL stories of this season. But they're also the youngest team in the league age-wise, so I think just the experience factor. I like Dallas to win this game, and I don't know if I like them to win as much as you do, but I think they should win by at least a touchdown. And I think the future is looking bright in Green Bay. So even if they go in and and get blown out by Dallas. It's still been a good season for Green Bay, and it'll be a good playoff experience for a very young team to pick up. So I think a win-win there for Green Bay, but I'm back in Dallas in this one.
No, I agree on the. I agree in terms of like the season Jordan Love had. He's come on the last. I would say the second half of the season. He's really come on and demonstrated that he is the future quarterback for Green Bay, and it's nice to see them move on from Aaron Rodgers and have success still. But youth is good and bad, right? Because you can be young and have no fear.
Right? True. It's like you're playing with the house money. You're playing like with nothing to lose. So it does, there is something to that. However, I just think, Dallas is a little more battle tested in terms of recent playoff experience. Not all the experience has been good, but they kind of know what to expect. And they're at home too. It'll be a pretty loud place. But Dallas should have the edge in that one. Well, let's. Speaking of facing your former team, as Coach McCarthy is, the Sunday night game is pretty intriguing. As we have Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams going into his former club, to Detroit, to face the Lions and Jared Goff. So this is these two quarterbacks were trading for each other a couple of years ago, and now they face each other. So this is a very interesting matchup. Rams finished the season at 10-7, and Lions won their division and finished at 12-5. So what are your thoughts on this game, and who do you like in this game?
Well, Detroit hasn't won a playoff game. They haven't won a playoff game since the early '90s. So that's an interesting sort of dynamic. Barry Sanders was still playing football, and Barry was an incredible, dynamic football player. Detroit, to me, is a very good team, and Campbell is a phenomenal coach. If I was playing football, I want that guy to be my coach. The players get him. He gets the players. They believe in him. There's a lot of love there. And the Rams they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I'm going to take the Rams in a slight upset. I just think Matthew Stafford, he wants to prove something to Detroit in terms of, he wants to thank them for the time there, but he wants to prove something to Detroit. He is turnover prone. Matthew Stafford can be, but the Rams just got enough experience, and their coach is battle tested. He's won a Super Bowl. He's a unique offensive guy. And so I like the Rams slightly. I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to be like it's going to be. The spread is 3, and so I don't think it's going to be like a big spread. I think it's going to be a very tight game. But I'm going to take the Rams slightly upset because I think Matthew Stafford. He's coming home to Detroit. He spent a lot of time here. He actually loves Detroit. He loves Ford Field, and he's going to turn back the clock there. I know Goff is a good quarterback. He's had a great year, but he's only thrown 12 interceptions, so it's been really good for him. But he throws them in bunches when he plays, and it tends to happen. So I think he's going to throw a couple picks because the Rams know him, and they know why they traded him away to get Matthew Stafford. So they're going to get pressure on him, and that causes him to make mistakes. So I like the Rams by 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the spread is 3, and I agree. Like the game is going to be close. This for me, this game is a tough game to call. And one, weather is not a factor. You're playing indoors in a game. You're playing indoors on turf, and I think it suits both teams, right? So because they got pretty good speed at some of their skill positions. So it's kind of neutralizing. There's no weather factor. Then you have the coaching matchup. As good as Dan Campbell is, and seems like he is the coach that his team. You can just tell, like his team plays for him. He's a player's coach, and it shows. But McVay is a really smart coach. He's very good tactically, and I agree. Having Coach Goff before they traded him for Stafford, so he knows what he's all about. I'm sure he's going to come up with some schemes to kind of maximize or to draw weaknesses in Goff, and surprise rookie receiver Puka Nakua on the Rams. Finished with over 1,400 yards receiving, which is insane for a rookie. This is a very intriguing match. It's very close. I've gone back and forth. However, I like the Lions in this one to edge out the Rams in a very close game. I just think that I could see this game going back and forth and maybe coming down to a last minute field goal. I just think I like the Rams. Sorry, the Lions. Laporta, their rookie tight end, the running back Jamari Gibbs, another rookie at running back. I just think I think they've insulated Goff. Because they got a tight end's kind of your safety net, and I think they got a good tight end and a good running back to check down. As long as Campbell has a good game plan where it's not gonna he's not gonna put Goff at risk where he has to air it out and get out of his comfort zone. If he calls a pretty good game, has those safety nets nearby, I think the Detroit will just keep chipping away and pull away in the end. And you can see, like, Dan Gamble is a gambling man, as going for that 2-point conversion to win the game against Dallas. It's kind of like there's kind of like a wild card factor in his game calling. So very close game, but I'm gonna call Detroit in a very close game. I think this game will be entertaining and definitely be must watch TV for wild card weekend.
This might be the best game of the weekend.
It could very well be, yeah. This brings us to our last game, which is on Monday night, and I like how they a couple seasons ago they started to have that Monday night game for Wild Card Weekend, which is awesome because we got games Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So the Monday nighter brings the Philadelphia Eagles into Tampa Bay to face the Bucs. The Eagles finished 11-6, and Tampa finished 9-8, and captured the NFC South title. So, what do you think? What do you think about this game, and who do you like coming out?
So, if you ask me in November, I would say Philadelphia would walk away with this game. But you're asking me on January 11th, 2024, and I think Philadelphia is going in the wrong direction at the wrong time. If you start off slow and build up, then you can peak in the playoffs. In this case, they're bottoming out in the playoffs. They right now are not a very good football team. Their defense is a mess, and Tampa Bay is not great. But I think they have enough capability to expose the Philadelphia defense and also pressure and get pressure on Jalen Hurts. So I like Tampa in an upset here. Philly's the favorite by 3. But Philadelphia's just going in the wrong direction, man. They're going in the wrong direction, and Tampa Bay has managed to find their way and navigate their way through the NFC South. I know it wasn't a great division, but they're good enough to win this game because I just don't see Philadelphia getting out of their spiral. Jalen Hurts is hurt. To some extent, he's better, but he's still a little hurt, and I don't see Philadelphia having the week to right their ship. Their ship is going down, and it's going down pretty bad.
Yeah, they do sort of. It does seem like it's like a wounded animal going into this matchup. The way that they kind of limped into the playoffs, and they're limping into this matchup. Jalen Hurts. I think he suffered a dislocated finger on his passing hand in this very last week 18, and he's just been banged around all season. I don't think he's been healthy all year, but he's expected to play. Baker Mayfield also is dealing with some injury concerns too. He suffered a rib injury in week 17, and I think he tweaked his ankle last week. I mean, even though Philly has looked awful at times down the stretch, and they're limping into this matchup. I like Philly to pull this one off. I think they can pull this one off, and I think they'll probably get eliminated in the next round. But I mean, Tampa Bay is just not impressed me, not impressed at all. I mean, they won their division. I think they beat Carolina, which is the worst team in the league. They beat them 9-0 last week to win the division. The game that really mattered, the head-to-head matchup with New Orleans 2 weeks ago, where they could have clinched the division, they just outright lost. So, based on that, I think Philly could pull it together for one game based on, their battle hardened from last year. I think that they'll want to come out with a point to prove that, hey, they're not finished. They got some game in them. I think that's going to carry them through one game. They're still they still are, got some pretty good weapons on offense. And they still got that play with Jalen Hurts, the tush push, and get them through a lot of short yardage situations. Defense has been atrocious, right? But I just don't see like Tampa Bay being able to take full advantage of that weak defense. Sure, it'll be easier for Tampa to move the ball, but I mean, they scored 9 points against Carolina last week. So even against a weakened Philly defense, I just don't expect them to put up much points. And it's not like Tampa Bay is an intimidating place to play. The weather will probably be quite pleasant. Philly fans travel, so there'll probably be a lot of Eagles fans in that stadium. I just think they're just going to pull it together for one more game before they bow out in the following week. There's just too much talent on the Eagles roster. That's my opinion. So I'm backing the Eagles in this game.
No, I think that it's not surprising. Like I said, if you asked me 5 weeks ago, I would have said Philadelphia. But limping into the playoffs is never a good sign, and maybe they can pull it together and figure out a way to win. But they haven't had a good end to the season.
Yeah. Well, one thing we can agree on is it's going to be a great weekend for watching football.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it. I'm licking my chops right now at the Saturday afternoon game and evening game, and if you like smash mouth, hard, tough football, Sunday afternoon in Buffalo Orchard Park is going to be a really, really nice old school, leather helmet type of football game.
Yeah, that's what's good about this weekend. We have such a contrast of matchups and something for all the football fans' taste. So, wildcard weekend is usually one of the best weekends of the playoffs, just because you have so many games too. So, anyways, I want to thank you for your time that you spent with us, DDawg. It's always a pleasure to have you join us, and thanks for your analysis as always.
No, anytime, my friend, my brother. I'm looking forward to this weekend, and we'll see what happens in the near future. See what happens and how this NFL playoffs plays out.
Okay, great. Yeah, and then we're just gonna put up a summary of our picks this week on this next slide here.